Okay, good afternoon, good morning or good evening, depending upon what time in the world it is when you are watching this. Welcome to another ubisend live stream. This is part of our Chatbot Deep Dive series. In this series, this is where we kind of look at particular elements of a chatbot. We'll kind of take one feature or one kind of element of a chatbot platform, and we'll look into everything you can do with it. We normally kind of explain a little bit about how the feature works, the different use cases, and kind of how you can apply this to your own business. So it's a little bit of a theory, a little bit also of kind of how to use the ubisend platform, all kind of mixed into one. If you're not currently a ubisend user, you'll probably be able to take a lot of what we're saying on board anyway and apply it to pretty much any flexible platform. If you are a ubisend user, obviously this is going to be a lot more relevant to you because we'll be showing off, as you can see on my screen at the moment, the wonderful ubisend chatbot platform, and also a lot of the features. Ubisend's kind of leading with quite a few different features, so we have almost, I'd say, unique areas of the platform that other platforms don't quite have. So, it's going to be a little bit more helpful for you there. And also as well, I do always have to start the screen with this because it's very interesting. If you are able to basically head over to ubisend.com, this is where you're going to be able to find out a huge amount of information about the ubisend platform. So if you're kind of looking at what I'm showcasing on the screen, this looks a little bit interesting, want to see more, want to see, say, for example, the different types of integrations that you have, or a few case studies or anything like that, head over off to ubisend, just our website. I'll make sure there's a link to it down in the description once we've finished doing the live stream. And of course, as well, be sure to subscribe to the channel because these live streams happen every single week, and on top of that we're also releasing a range of different content such as your more typical ubisend uploads, and these will be kind of, again, anything from theory based to use case based or to even kind of different case studies in a video format, so you can really understand the chatbot market. And this will be an absolutely huge benefit to you, especially if you're, say, a marketing agency thinking about offering chatbot experiences to your clients. Then this is going to be an absolutely great series for you to keep in touch with, as well as also checking out the other videos on the channel, so be sure to do so and hit a subscribe. Anyway, now we've got the old typical housekeeping and admin sorted, let's start with today's video. And in today's video we are discussing one of those, I'd say, almost a little bit more obvious and for some people more exciting because it's the most tangible part of a chatbot platform, but this is actually the different channels and the different widgets that you can use. So when I say channels, the main channel that everyone's going to think of is the website widget, which is, all I'll do is I'll just head over into the demo section so you can all see. That's a different channel there. What we'll do is we'll head on to Converse, which is your typical website widget. So when people think of a chatbot, this is kind of what you expect, and this is the first thing that kind of comes into your mind. So I'm going to be discussing kind of this channel as a whole, so the Converse or website widget, however you like to call it. And as you can see up here in the demo section, you can kind of test it on a couple different channels. So I'm also going to be discussing these other two channels here. So this will be embedded and full page chatbots. I'll be discussing these three channels as a whole, as well as also just kind of a little bit of a rough look at the different kind of channels that you can deploy ubisend chatbots or any kind of chatbot on. And so how we're going to do this, same as always with the live streams, there's always kind of a rough script, but we also somewhat take it as we kind of come. It's a live stream, it's a relaxed environment. Feel free to ask any questions in the chat if you do have anything along that you need to ask, and also as well, if you are watching this on demand, just throw a question down in the comments. We'll be sure to get back to you and answer it with as much information as we can. Alright, so I think actually what we'll probably do with the channels is we'll just start by talking about the channels as a whole. So a channel essentially is where the chatbot lives and where it communicates. Also sometimes occasionally called a chatbot's medium, but typically a channel. So this means that, for example, a Facebook Messenger chatbot, Facebook Messenger is that chatbot's channel. A website chatbot, the website is that chatbot's channel. In this case, it would be the Converse widget here. So it's kind of where does the chatbot live and how does it talk to its users? Typically, with the channels, you're going to want to choose a chatbot channel, which is where your users already are. You're not going to want that to make them come to the chatbot. You're going to want the chatbot to already be there to answer their questions. So let's imagine you have, say, a custom-built app. I believe a good example of this is Vodafone. They have a custom app. It's a Very Me Rewards app. You can talk to their live chat agent. I've actually forgotten the name of it. I use Vodafone, which is how I know about this. So yeah, I've actually forgotten the name. I think it's got a terrible chatbot name, something like Vodibot or something awful. But yeah, you can talk to their chatbot on their custom app because that's where you already are as a user. And again, it's all about making things easy for customers. So how does ubisend particularly, and most chatbot platforms, kind of showcase how you can make things easier for your users? Well, if we just jump into the channels here, what you can kind of see on my screen at the moment is you've got these channels up at the top. So these are the kind of already active, or I've already activated them at some point in my lifespan on this account. Channels. So as you can see, we've got the Converse, which is what we were just looking at, the typical website widget. We've got Facebook Messenger there, we've got Facebook Workplace, Microsoft Teams, Telegram, embedded and full page. So these are the channels that I've already played around with on my account, because whenever I've either been, say, making demos, making videos for people, or just kind of having a little test and enjoying using the platform, these are the channels that I've already activated. And then, as you can see here, what we've also got is, I believe we're looking at close to 40 different channels now that you can choose from. So there's everything you can probably think of. There's things like Discord. Again, we've also got custom mobile app, which is similar to what I was mentioning with Vodafone. Obviously there's Kik there, there's a Rocket Chat, typical SMS, you've got Slack as a channel, WhatsApp as a channel, WeChat, anywhere that say your customers, your users, or maybe even your employees are currently like using to communicate and interact, you're most likely, especially with ubisend, going to be able to deploy a chatbot on there. Another fun one of these is Instagram. As you can see, I haven't quite activated this on my account yet. Instagram has, I believe, during, I'd say, just about Q2 of 2021, so quite recently at the time of this video, announced their support for chatbots. So we've obviously added the Instagram channel to our chatbot platform, and also as well, I believe, in the next upcoming week or so, just to slightly spoil the release if you are lucky enough to be watching this live, ubisend is going to have a one-click integration with Instagram, which basically just means it's the exact same as Facebook Messenger. I'll just show you here. If I just click options, you literally just click connect to Facebook, but obviously this will be Instagram, so you click connect to your Facebook account that's logged in with your Instagram, and then done, and your chatbot is literally good to go on your Facebook page or your Instagram account that quickly. So that's kind of a quick overview of the different types of channels that you can have. If you just tuned in now and you're wondering what type of channels can you have, with ubisend it's kind of pretty much any channel that you're going to need. And obviously as well, if you're looking through this list and you're like, oh, I use a channel, it's not on there, just reach out, send us an email. Odds are, because of our API toolkit, we're going to be able to integrate with that channel, and we're going to be able to be helping you assist your users. It's very flexible. We've just obviously gone with the most popular and most commonly used, just to kind of save a little bit of space on the page here. Okay, so that's kind of a really quick lightning overview of channels as a whole. And as I kind of touched on a little bit when I was discussing Instagram there, we also obviously have our one-click integrations. So typical ones, popular ones for these is obviously the Facebook Messenger and Telegram and Microsoft Teams. So this is basically, as I mentioned, just very easy. You can normally just, with Microsoft Teams, you just have to copy your Microsoft Teams ID or tenant ID, I believe it's called. It's just found in the settings account of your Teams page. Paste that in so your chatbot knows which Teams account it needs to be linking up to, and then click connect, and that's it. It's pretty much done, and your chatbot's now going to be able to communicate with your users. And then this obviously brings the issue, what happens if you say have multiple channels? As you can see by the ticks on my screen here, I have Converse, I have Facebook Messenger, I have Embedded, and I have Full Page. Does this mean I need different chatbot for every single channel? Well, with ubisend, the answer to that is no. The same chatbot can live on pretty much any channel. So at any time is what I mean. So you can have the multiple channels all being hosted by a single chatbot. So for example, in this account here, I have one chatbot and it has the same preset questions, it has the same preset conversations, and also has the same preset branding, the same tone of voice, everything across all of these channels. I haven't had to make different questions, I haven't had to write different FAQs, create different conversations or anything along those lines for different channels. Really nice, really simple. It's a great way to kind of almost have your fingers in multiple pies without actually ever needing to put that much different effort in. You just basically need to set the channel up. So this is obviously great thing about ubisend is that kind of multi-channel, I almost said multilingual. That's going to be something for another video there. But yeah, that kind of multi-channel approach. Okay, so that's kind of a little bit of a rough overview of channels. I think the best way to do this is just going to start diving into a couple of channels in particular. And as I mentioned at the start of the video, today we're going to be looking at the Converse channel, which is essentially a website widget. The embedded channel, which is obviously, as you can see here, embedding a chatbot within a web page or the content. So as you would expect, this means it's actually physically embedded inside of a page, such as inside of a blog post or inside of a product page. And then we've got the full page, which in contrast to the embedded widget, rather than being embedded within an existing page, the chatbot takes up the entire page and becomes this kind of immersive experience for users. Full page chatbot's really exciting there because it's kind of something that ubisend popularized and something that we've brought kind of huge amounts of results from. We have a case study on our website. It's a van leasing chatbot that utilized the full page chatbot. That's looking at about, I think within a couple months, it was 30,000 leads generated. Again, I'll also make sure that I leave the link for that in the description of this live stream once I've finished hosting. So, okay, so that's kind of, I think, the best way, as we're going to kind of talk about these three channels in the majority, because we're going to talk about how you can customize them using ubisend, the different things that you can kind of do. I think what we'll do is we'll start with the embedded, then we'll go for full page, and then we'll go to the website widget. Might change that order around, you never know, kind of see how we feel as we're going through. And as I did mention, please do make sure you just drop a comment in if you've got any questions. Always be sure to get back to you either during the stream or at the end. Okay, so what I've just done here, as I was having a little cheeky sip of a drink, is I have basically just clicked to, what I'll do is I'll talk you through it as I'm doing it. So I'm in the channel section here, and here we've just got the options. That's all I've done. I'll just click that. And as you can see, this is kind of where you design the chatbot and how it looks on this channel. So this is the embedded chatbot, which basically means if I just say, let's just load up a Wikipedia article or something. So let's just jump on Wikipedia. As you can see, this is just the typical Wikipedia webpage. I'm always hardly ever go on Wikipedia nowadays. I'm always amazed with how much in-the-face content there looks. But let's just imagine, so here we've got from today's featured article, and they've got this huge article here. Imagine rather than having this in the news section, it was this chatbot, and that chatbot was then answering questions about that article. It's kind of quite a nice way to boost engagement, keep your users talking, answer any questions. Obviously, we're just looking at Wikipedia here. Now, rather than this being today's featured article, let's imagine that's a product that you have. Let's imagine, say, it's either a bit more information about your services. You might be, say, a consultancy or marketing agency, and you offer a different variety of services. And you kind of, people, oh, well, can I do this? Can I do this? How much does this cost? I've got this kind of project. What do I do about that? All those kind of typical questions. Well, that's where you then embed the chatbot here. The chatbot's going to almost act as a live chat agent, but without the costs of having any live chat agents. And it's going to be operating for you, answering these questions. And again, obviously the same goes for customer service. Got any frequently asked questions, a regular page, maybe say you have like a checkout page and it's a little bit buggy from time to time, as you get a lot of questions, just throw a chatbot in there. It's going to be able to answer all the questions, guide users through processes. Absolutely great way. So the embedded chatbot's a nice way to kind of bring your website and bring your content to life. I'll jump off Wikipedia and stop using that as an example now, and we'll jump back in and actually start talking about what it is and how you can kind of edit it. So ubisend, we make the kind of 3 channels that I'm looking at, the full page, the converse and the embedded, really simple to use. And so basically what I'll do is I'll just kind of run you through the different settings that you have available, because I'm not going to be talking about the different conversations today and how you can kind of set them up. Instead, I'm just going to be talking about the channels themselves. And so obviously here we've got the kind of show chatbot logo. We've got all sorts, and I can obviously change the logo, so I can upload different things. I can say just these are just some of the little images that we've got put in, so I can kind of throw in our little logo there. And this is where you kind of customize all the branding. So I obviously as well, changing the chatbot name, I could call it anything. I might go with Greg the chatbot. So I don't really know why I've gone with Greg there, but completely up to you. Can change it at any time. And obviously as well, color settings, I can either just kind of go for your typical basics. So I'm just changing the text color up at the top here. I'm probably going to, whilst just clicking loads of buttons, end up with the ugliest chatbot you've ever seen, but I think that's what we'll do. And obviously as well, for the color settings, I can keep just changing everything literally just by the old click of a button here. So just clicking a couple buttons. And obviously as well, I've got the fact I can use hex code. So say if I wanted it to be completely black, I can just type in the hex codes. This is great. Say if you're working on a client's build and they have the exact color scheme, and you can be like, okay, here, this is going to match your exact kind of different, your exact branding. Or at the same time, as you can see how quickly it is, and you've got this live preview, if you are working on something for, say, a client or maybe the wider team, you can do what I'm doing right now, which is share the screen and just kind of try around with a few different colors and kind of end up with, see, that looks a little bit nicer there. Obviously, I've still got that horrible red, but yeah, you can kind of just trial it around and end up with a few different builds, see what suits them, see what makes them happiest. And again, I'm not going to go through all the colors here, because obviously then you can change the color of your message. You can basically kind of customize the color of pretty much every single element of what you can see on the screen on the right here, which is again great for branding. Another nice little thing here is the avatars. So by default, ubisend has these set to off, but again, completely up to you whether you use them. Avatars, you can either click, so as I said, the set off, or you can click them on, and then just this kind of little picture here. And as you can see, it's just a little robot, just lets people know that they're talking to a chatbot by using a robot. This is one thing that we always say with kind of chatbot best practices, which is make it clear it's a chatbot, because no one likes to be talking to what they think is a human and then find out it's a robot. Even if it's an accident and you didn't mean to deceive them, it can come across as a little bit as deceiving, which obviously isn't the best for either your employees or your customers. So we do by default just have a little robot avatar, but obviously, as in a typical ubisend way, it's your platform, your chatbot, you can do whatever you want, so pretty much everything's customizable. So you've obviously got the option for you to kind of upload your own chatbot images if you want to use your own default avatars. Say, for example, you might be I'm just going to use pets as an example here, but you might be a pets company, you might want this to look like a little robot dog or something along those lines. And also as well, there's also the option to add a human image if you want to use live chat and you want to be able to differentiate between the two. So say if I'm going to click choose a human image here, and we're just going to use a picture of a car because I haven't got an image loaded in. But this means when, quite a bad example using the human image, that means when it jumps to a live chat agent, it's then just going to be a picture of a car because I forgot to upload a human image. But yeah, so this is a really nice way to kind of, again, differentiate between live chat agents and not live chat. One thing I will mention as well, as you can see here, it says Greg the chatbot. When a live chat agent jumps into the chat, it will say their live chat name. So in my example, it would be Jacob. And this is just this is kind of pre-built. This means if you don't actually have the avatars showing, they're still going to be able to tell they're actually talking to a live chat agent now, as opposed to the chatbot. So again, just a little bit there, a little bit about kind of best practices and making sure you're keeping things clear for your users, and also just a little bit of fun about how you can kind of customize the avatars. And obviously as well, we've got the composer settings. So the composer is the bit on the bottom of the right here where my face is slightly covering up for you, but this is, as you can see, where it says send a message. This is where you talk to the chatbot, this is where you can communicate to it. And this is basically the user's composer. ubisend, we've got a hamburger option. So hamburger menu, if I just turn this to on, as you can see, I'm sure we've all used these before. It's a little collapse menu that you can kind of click and bring up different options. This is just quite a nice way for you to kind of use almost, I'd say, quick links for people if you say have regular questions. Obviously this is an embedded chatbot, so let's imagine that one of them is going to be about pricing. And well, not pricing, but let's go with payment. Let's imagine that this chatbot is embedded on a product wall and you kind of want something about payment. So I might say go along the lines with adding this in. I think we'll go with payment. And just, again, payment here. So this is going to have a button which is going to trigger the payment conversation set up for you, and all the user's going to have to do is just click that there. So it's quite nice, quite easy to do, and really easy to set up as well. Obviously I just need to have a conversation which was triggered off the word payment in the back end, and then there we are, we're good to go, and we can kind of have that kind of quick links, which is great for return users or regular repeat questions. And again, the last little thing that I'm just going to cover is going to be the settings page. So the settings page essentially is, if I click this ugly little pink cog, normally it doesn't look like that. I think normally it's got a much nicer little color. Let's just change it to something a little bit nicer there. We'll just change it to a little bit of a white, just so it's not quite as jarring. But yeah, so when a user clicks that little settings icon there, that is what they're going to be shown any of these options depending on what you've chosen. So they can either be shown how to reset the conversation. This will not delete any data. So it does what it says on the tin. Imagine a user's reached a point where they've spoken to the chatbot a lot and they actually just want to go right the way back to the beginning. And they say, actually, you know what, let's just start again, pretend I never spoke to this chatbot before. That means they can literally just click that and then just click reset, and it's just going to completely wipe the conversation, but not their own personal data. We're going to come on to data in just a second. So then we've also got transcript, which is request a copy of your conversation transcript. Obviously with GDPR, data, the right to be forgotten, what data have you got held on me? These are all valid questions that your users or your employees could ask at any time. And with ubisend, we make it really easy that you can provide them with this. So obviously, again, completely up to you. You can either click show or hide. And then basically this allows them to input, I believe it's either an email address or just a download button. And it's going to download a transcript of every single kind of message they've had with the chatbot themselves. This is, again, a great way of them understanding what data has been stored by the chatbot. And I will just quickly mention as well, ubisend does have a, I believe we call it a redacted, I can never pronounce the word. I knew shouldn't have talked about this because I was like, oh, I'm going to end up pronouncing that embarrassing word again. Redacted, basically a data masking option, which is where you can mask sensitive messages within the platform. So imagine if the chatbot asks for payment details. I would never really do that. You'd use a payment widget. Let's say it asks for a username. When chatbot asks for the username, you can flag that step as personal or sensitive, and it's going to mask out that data. And then when that means if somebody does download their own transcript of the conversations they've been having, they'll see that that message has been masked for sensitive viewing and to make sure that their data isn't gone anywhere. Quite a nice way just to kind of show your users that you do care about their data and you are supporting them in their own data privacy. Whew, I feel like I've been talking at 1,000 miles an hour now, you know. Oh, I might have to have another quick sip of some water. Up next, obviously, we've got data export. So again, continuing on with the GDPR, this means if a user wants to actually say, okay, right, I want a copy of all conversation you have on me, not just this particular transcript, so not just the conversation I've been having, but all of the data. So this will obviously include things like the date that you first spoke to the chatbot, just typical kind of data that the chatbot will naturally gather to help improve your own business's analytics or that of your clients. The user is going to be able to request a copy and export that. This is absolutely great for kind of saving you time as well, because from a management perspective, these kind of requests can take a little bit of admin time. Here you can give the users the option to just do it themselves, saving you that admin time. Or alternatively as well, not directly within this screen where I am at the moment, but you can also export specific users' data from the chatbot platform yourself from the back end if you do wish to hide it. All you have to do is just enter in an email address for that data to be sent to, click export. Really simple, really easy. And then delete. So this is the nice fun one. I'd say particularly for clients kind of using, or say if you are building a chatbot for someone, whether it's your own business or someone else's, and you've kind of got all these different options here. Which one should I have on my settings page? I'd say pretty much always have the reset one, the reset conversation. It's just nice for users to be able to start again, whether on the very odd chance that they get stuck, or maybe they just want to start the conversation again. It's nice to give them that option. And another one that you can do, completely up to you here, is obviously the delete as well. This basically gives users the option to completely delete any data you hold on them. This does mean if you have any kind of personalization things in effect, they're not going to be able to feel the full benefits of the personalization, because obviously you're deleting all the data that you have that you're holding on them. But there's a few other different ways you can kind of do different kind of personalization options, such as web pages or anything like that. Anything that's kind of unique to that specific user is just going to be deleted from the platform. And this is quite a nice way to, again, give them the option. And this is, again, with ubisend, it's completely up to you whether you show it. Following the typical ubisend fashion, choose what it is that you want to watch, choose what it is that you want to show, and just kind of let the users or yourself kind of have the power over that. So that kind of covers the options within the embedded chatbot. I've kind of gone through all of them. As I go through the full page and then the Converse widget, you'll notice quite a few of these options are the same. So I'm not going to be doing the same process for every single one, because otherwise we'll probably all be falling asleep as I'm just saying the same thing 3 times over. But yeah, that kind of covers the majority of the different options you have available for when you're setting up your embedded chatbot. And as well, it also kind of covers a few of the options that you'll see come up on the other things. As I've also mentioned, that what you're able to do is just kind of actually embedding this in. So this is the thing, obviously it's embedded chatbot. How do I embed it within the content? As you can see, we've kind of got a little, I'm just going to just scroll around a little bit, but we have that pre-script there. This is basically a pre-formatted piece of code, pre-generated, sorry, a little bit of code for your website, and then you literally just have to input that in. Really nice, really easy to do. And I'm not a particularly techie person, but I mean, it doesn't take very long to do it all. If you do say have anyone that looks after your website, they'll be able to do it in a couple of seconds. It's really easy to do. Okay, so that's kind of the embedded chatbot. Now let's kind of look at the full page chatbot, because we'll kind of discuss the difference between, as I mentioned, either embedding it onto a web page or actually having it as the whole page itself. So if I just jump into options now, as you can see, this is an example just on the screen. What I might do quickly is I might just quickly just jump in and just actually show you the full page chatbot in its full glory. So this right here is a full page chatbot, and as you can see, it's got half of a conversation that I was having it for purposes of another video, just kind of still loaded up there. So I can basically just go on to, as I mentioned, and just reset my conversation there. So as you can see, really simple, really easy to do, and there we are. So this is a full page chatbot. As you can see, there's kind of nowhere else for me to kind of go. The chatbot is just basically there for me to engage with. Don't have a huge amount of options. Obviously I can check if there's been any notifications sent to me or any kind of messages along those lines. I can kind of view all the message history, which obviously there isn't any because I haven't been speaking to the chatbot yet. And obviously, as you just saw, I can reset the conversation. If we head over here we've got the settings page. Let's just turn all of these options on, click save. So these are the options that I was just discussing earlier. And then I can jump back in, refresh the chatbot, and head over into settings, and as you can see, I've now got options to download a transcript. I can now delete all of the data associated with me, and I can also export all of the data associated with me. So these are the kind of different options and how it actually looks. But again, the joys of a full page chatbot really is kind of how it interacts with its users. Because of this kind of, it creates this immersive experience, and they kind of, you can obviously also put a little logo up there to kind of give them a way to get back to your main site, or you can say a great use case of a full page chatbot actually is a follow-up of an advert. So imagine you've got a display ad or maybe a social ad that's sitting on either say like a banner or on a website, or maybe again your social might be LinkedIn or Facebook or even Instagram. You kind of got one of these ads running, rather than the user when you've kind of done the hard work and they've actually clicked the ad, they've listened to your CTA and they've gone through, and then where do they get taken to? They get taken to a static landing page. All of the effort that you've done can almost very quickly be lost, because all of a sudden you made a really exciting ad that's got their attention, and then you've just forwarded them on to quite a boring typical landing page. Well, why not use a full page chatbot that's kind of tailored around this conversation? You can set up a few triggers that mean when a user comes from our advert, you basically say if user has come from advert A, take them to full page chatbot with conversation 27 about advert A, and it's going to provide a completely uniquely crafted conversation which is going to really help boost your conversion rates. Let's just trying to think of an example off the top of my head here, which is never going to go well, but let's imagine, say you're working with a client and you're kind of making them a chatbot, and your client says, okay, we work in the boating space and we're trying to sell cruises. Okay, well, we've got these great, absolutely great Instagram ads running. Okay, what we'll do is we'll take these Instagram ads, and whenever a user comes onto it, we'll have a chatbot, and it's going to ask them what type of cruise they want to go on, what their budget is, what time of year it's going to be, and then the chatbot's going to recommend them a choice of 3 different cruises for them to choose from. It's almost like having a personal shopper, and at the same time, there's nowhere else for them to get distracted. They've just got to engage with the chatbot, and you just kind of slowly move them down the funnel in a really natural kind of conversational way. So it's a great way to kind of boost engagement using a full page chatbot. Okay, I believe that's kind of covering a little bit of an example of what a full page chatbot actually looks as I said, we're going to run through the different kind of options. And as also mentioned, so again, here, this is obviously where you just change the colors and whatnot, so I can kind of make the chatbot look a little bit different there with a little bit of the color tweaking. So this is kind of full page chatbot. It doesn't have quite as many options as the embedded chatbot, purely because, as you can see, how the medium itself looks, there's not that much to change. There's just a couple gradients and the messages and whatnot. So that's kind of a full page chatbot. Again, really simple, really easy to set up. And you just kind of got a little bit of pre-formatted snippet there, which you're going to be able to use. And you're again going to be able to go through, and it's just, I'm just trying to think of a nice way to kind of phrase a full page chatbot. So I've said immersive quite a few times, but, and obviously I've also made it quite a not very nice color there. But yeah, so it's kind of, I'm trying to think about a nice way to phrase it. I think because it's quite new on the market, it's almost a bit of a different experience. So it almost has a little bit of that novelty effect for people that do use it. But obviously looking past the novelty, it's such an efficient way to kind of provide them with a knowledge source, because there's no distractions, there's no getting lost. So once the kind of novelty effect of it's worn off and a user's used to using the chatbot, it becomes a very easy window. It's almost, if you kind of look at how it's laid out, it's almost a little bit like the homepage of Google. You know, you have, imagine there's just normally like the words Google there, and then you just got the option to just type in your messages. So it's just like basically saying, using the same format of Google, we are your source of knowledge, enter in your question. So obviously you're never going to top Google with a full page chatbot, are you? But for customers that are users or employees that are turning to your brand for answers, then a full page chatbot kind of really does serve that medium very well. It just kind of becomes the central knowledge source that's really easy to use. And the first couple of times I use it, it's quite exciting. I think what we'll do is maybe in the future episodes, when I go through different message types, I'll show off how a couple of the messages look within the conversation builder, within a full page chatbot, because it kind of has some fancy resizing of the screen. You'll be able to embed content and it will take up one half of the screen as opposed to the other half. Really nice, really interactive way to kind of keep things going. Okie dokie. So what else do we want to look at? I think we also want to be looking at, I believe, if I just head over back to channels, one of the biggies, one of the most popular and most commonly used, which is the website widget or the Converse widget. What I might do is I can always just move. I think I'll keep my face on the side of the screen there for the time being. But yeah, as you can see, so this is your typical kind of chatbot essentially. I think what I will do for the purpose of this actually is I will move my face maybe up into the top right for the time being. So yeah, there we are, we're up in the top right. Okay, so this is just so you can see all of the options, and you can also see the preview on the right hand side of the screen. Okay, so as you can see, there's a lot more options here than there have been on the previous two options, on the previous two channels that I've been discussing. We've still got the same main settings, which is obviously show the chatbot name, show the chatbot logo and whatnot. So again, I can kind of enter it in there. And we've got the display settings. We'll come on to display settings in a second. First thing, I'm going to just basically open all of these up. So I think what we can do is we can just scroll down the screen and talk through them all. Well, all the ones that we haven't looked at, all the more exciting ones. Okay, perfect. So as you can see, we've got the different options to change color. I can just kind of start changing the color there. Not going to go through the color. That's all very self-explanatory. I've already discussed that. So what we'll do is we'll start up at the bottom. Again, same settings that I was mentioning earlier. You can kind of show or hide, whether they can reset their data, update a transcript, anything along those lines. And what else have we got if I just jump over into here? So again, composer settings, show the hamburger menu. This was the exact same that I was mentioning earlier. So this is that little button here. As you can see, we've got these actions, so cooking classes, request IT support, or submit an expense. These are just some options that I was just putting in earlier before when I was just kind of playing around. Avatars, already talked about those. Okay, so call to actions. So call to actions are quite an exciting part. Let's just click this to on. So as you can see here, we've got, this is what a call to action looks like. So call to action is that little blob there that just kind of jumps up outside the chatbot and grabs their attention. And the fact is with ubisend, you can customize this to the absolute earth and back. And obviously as well, you can just click that little X there if you want to close it. But yep, so you can customize this completely. So let me just delete that test one that I've clearly done for quite a while. The way that this works is you can set up a customized call to action that completely matches your own criteria. We've kind of given you the options to basically create whatever you want for your clients or for yourself. Bear with me whilst I'm just having a little sip of the water there. Okay, so if I just click add new, so let's describe this call to action. We'll just kind of make one live, and I think what I'll do is I'll just basically make it and talk you through what I'm doing, and then at the end I'm going to explain what it is that I've done. So we're going to call this call to action pricing page. We're going to put a message saying, hey, we're going to completely misspell hey. I can tell you more about our pricing. That's not a very exciting one. Let's go with hey, I can give you a customized, is that the word? Quote. So So basically what we've got here is a little message that's going to pop up and say, I can give you a customized quote. When do we want this message to show? We can have this show all the time, which is obviously quite a nice one if that's your main goal. Or let's kind of say if the page URL equals example.com/pricing. Okay, perfect. So what we're saying here is basically the chatbot's going to say, hey, I can give you a customized quote whenever or when any of these conditions are met. So basically when the page URL equals pricing. So this basically means whenever a user lands on your pricing page, you're going to get this really unique kind of customized quote. And obviously you can add multiple different options. So let's say also if the page URL, so it can either be the pricing page or it could also be, let's say, services. And so it could also be a services page. On any of these two pages, it's going to pop up offering to give a customized quote. So I'll just click save there. And now we've got our completely unique call to action set up, going to provide a little bit of a personalized experience for anybody on the website. Let's just add another one. So here, obviously, let's go for a different one. Let's say if any of these messages are met, we're going to call this one, rather than pricing page, we're going to call this one hello, just general greeting, sorry. So this is just going to be a general greeting, and it's going to be welcome to our website. I can show you around. So this is a quite boring copy there, if you can tell. I'm not the world's most creative and exciting copywriter in the world. I'm sure you, if you're a talented copywriter or you work with quite a lot of copywriters, you're going to be able to get really great conversion rates off these call to actions. Myself personally, as you can see from the example that I've just made up on the screen, maybe not. we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, so you've got one to show your call to action. Again, let's just call this, again, actually, we can leave this with all the time, because obviously this is just a general greeting. And what we'll do is basically, I believe, so my voice seems to be playing out with me a little bit there, but the two will overwrite each other. So you're not, as you can see, the pricing page isn't going to also show on the general greeting. It's going to basically pick the unique one, which is going to be the pricing page there. What I'll do is I'll just delete these out for the time being. That's kind of covering call to actions in a little bit of depth. And then obviously we've got the launcher settings, which is just basic. I don't want to run through all the colors because this is the kind of thing which is when you jump into ubisend and you've got it yourself, you'll be able to kind of play around with all the different options and have a little look and make sure you can customize it to completely match your own brand. Last thing I'll talk about is obviously the banner title, which is, as you can see up there, we've got, hey, I'm ubibot. I can change this to, hello there, I am losing my voice. Maybe I should start getting a chatbot to do these drop-ins. It probably save my voice a little bit of effort there. And then we can obviously say, hello there, I'm losing my voice. I need to drink more water before live streams. Okay, so I'm getting a little bit silly there on the live stream, and just kind of straying away from typical use cases. But as you can see, this is where you can customize. This is what the user sees just before they click start your conversation. So the second that they open up that widget, they're going to see this. So let's jump back to the call to action really. If I stop scrolling past it, so if I just toggle this in, as you can see, imagine this is the pricing one, so that would say something about contacting us about pricing, and then we're going to have the banner settings here, and we're going to say, I'm ubisend's price bot. Let's get, shall we get you a unique pricing offer. Again, my copywriting skills are just going out the absolute window today while I'm trying to do it off the top of my head as I speak. A unique price? Shall we get you a unique, there's a word for it. Ah man, well, what is the word? A unique something. It's something to do with pricing. A unique offer, a unique quote spun up. There we are. And then basically we'll be able to start the conversation and start engaging with them. And again, this is following on that kind of personalized experience that they'll be receiving about they're on the pricing page and now I've created this, which is kind of unique to their specific pricing needs. Obviously as well, do you always want to show the chatbot? That's what this is here. Always show converse. We can change this. So if we add new, we can say, again, let's go with the pricing. And we're going to say show it if the page URL equals example.com/pricing. Click save. And we'll delete the always show converse one. And basically what this means is now we're only ever going to show this chatbot on the pricing page. So it doesn't have to be clear on every single one of your website. We appreciate that there might be, say, specific pages on your website that you don't want to have a chatbot on, maybe something like your privacy policy or your cookie policy, not a huge amount of need for your chatbot there, or let's say, for example, if it's maybe the checkout page, obviously the end goal for any checkout page is going to be that they check out. So you might remove the chatbot off there just to kind of help with keep conversions really focused, or you might particularly add the chatbot onto that page just to kind of offer a little bit of advice for maybe if you say worrying, why is my checkout page not converting anywhere near the industry norm or anywhere near the amount that we need it to. Well, let's add the chatbot on there, kind of get a bit of feedback, see what kind of questions people are answering, and use the chatbot that way to kind of really start to get to the heart of the problem. Which is, again, coming on to something a little bit more theory related about chatbots, but that's kind of using them to kind of tap into your user base or your employee base and really understand their issues. I believe we've got an option where one of the earlier chatbot deep dives was on the dashboard and creating custom metrics. You can use those custom metrics that you can create using ubisend to track these unique things. So let's imagine you're like, what's going wrong with the checkout page? We've got a load of FAQs about the checkout page. Let's just kind of track them, see how many times they're asked, then we'll be able to dive into each question uniquely and kind of read through each conversation, really get to the bottom of the issue. Go through, watch the, I think, I can't remember the exact name, it will be within this playlist if you go and just have a little look through, find the one about, I believe it's literally just called ubisend dashboard, and a chatbot deep dive, ubisend dashboard, sorry. Have a little watch of that, you'll kind of get to know the custom metrics, understand about how you can kind of use your chatbot platform's data. Okay, anyway, a little bit off topic there, but yeah, so that's kind of covering the majority of the different things that you can kind of do with these three key channels. Again, following the exact same thing, deploying this kind of website widget, just copying a quick pre-formatted snippet. Really nice, really easy. So this is kind of covering everything. Here I've made probably one of the most disgusting looking chatbots I've seen in quite a while. That's just been me clicking completely random buttons as I've just been scrolling up and down the screen. So normally it wouldn't look quite that hideous. You'd spend a little bit of time coming up with kind of perfectly kind of like customized, make everything kind of look a little bit nicer. So that's kind of, so as you can see, I mean, it's still a long way off nice, but we're kind of a little bit less garish than it was before. But yeah, so you can kind of have a little play around there, make things that just look a little bit nicer. Anyway, so yeah, that's kind of like, just kind of quick summary of that. What we've been discussing today is the chatbot channels. It's been quite a nice relaxed one for the live stream today. My voice has been going out in different places, so hopefully you've all been able to understand me. Do make sure that you subscribe to the channel, and just before you do go as well, just going to give a tiny quick, I was about to say rummage up, but that's definitely not the phrase. Summary is the phrase that I'm looking for, of why we've been discussing channels today. So the reason that we discuss channels, as I mentioned at the start of the stream, is because of how important they are to your chatbot. You have to have the right channel for your user base. So this kind of comes into a little bit of the chatbot planning aspect, which is where are my users. But then also as well, you kind of have to kind of future-proof anything that you're deploying at a business, especially if you say a large enterprise, or especially if you're a marketing agency working for your clients, you're creating chatbot experiences for your clients. You're going to want to future-proof this. You're not going to want to say to them, we've got the perfect thing now. What about in 3 years' time when they need something else? Are they going to go to another agency to get it? Or are you going to have made it so that you can already provide it without even technically knowing what it is that you're going to need to provide? And this again comes back down to ubisend's customizable nature, the flexibility, adaptability. There's a word, I always get the three confused, but I think they kind of means, you kind of understand where I'm going with it. Because with ubisend, we can kind of support pretty much any channel. This means that you can create a chatbot, let's say for example, as I've got here, Facebook Messenger and Instagram for the time being, because that's where your clients' users are. Okay, perfect. But you're never going to be able to predict that maybe in 3-4 years, maybe they'll have all moved to Telegram. Maybe there'll be a new Instagram up on the block. Something might rise out of the scenes like Snapchat did back 10 years ago and kind of completely grab everyone's attention. Whenever this happens with ubisend, you can kind of trust that you're still going to be able to deploy the same chatbot that you've already put all the work into on that channel. So you can kind of, I don't want to use the word go with the flow because I always think it's quite a cringy phrase, but you can kind of follow the users and make sure that wherever either your own or your client's business needs to be and whatever directions the world kind of makes it roll in, you can deploy a chatbot that is on that channel. One of the huge strengths of ubisend there is really that kind of flexibility and that kind of preparing for anything. It's not lock you into a single thing and in 3 years down the line you're going to be back at square zero, which is something that we've heard that's happened to quite a few clients, and that's why they've ended up coming to us. Anyway, I think we're kind of getting on a little bit there. My voice is almost completely given out, so I'm going to call it quits on this live stream. I hope you all enjoyed it. And also another important thing to mention as well is next week we're going to be looking at chatbot training, which is because the week previously we looked at different chatbot FAQs, and then next week we're going to finish that up with a chatbot training where we're going to discuss how you can actually train your chatbot on the messages it receives. Thank you very much for watching. Please do subscribe to the channel. Head to ubisend.com to read up a little bit more about our platform in general, and I'll see you all later. Okay, thank you.